All right. So good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today with a great session. This is Emira from Education USA Libya, and I'm glad to have with us today Ilham from Education USA Tunisia. Today's session is going to be for potential graduate students from Tunisia, from Libya, and for anyone who's watching from a different country. So if you are interested in data analytics, software engineering, information science, MBA, systems engineering, and IT programs in the United States, this session is definitely for you. So today you will get more information about the application requirements and the funding opportunities with two great presenters from Penn State Great Valley from the United States. So make sure to watch the session and prepare your questions, and we'll bring them up at the end of the presentation. Now, I would like to turn it over to my colleague Ilham from Education USA Tunisia, who is going to share with you a brief introduction about Education USA Network. So who are we and how can we help you? And then we will start our presentation. And at the end, there will be the Q&A part in which you can ask your questions directly to the university reps. The floor is yours, Ilham.
Thank you, Emira. So hello, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in with us this afternoon. So if you are here for the first time, or if you've been following us for some time now, would like to introduce our network to you. So we are a U.S. Department of State network, which means that we are your official source of information regarding education in the United States. We are over 430 international student advising centers in different countries, in more than 180 countries and territories. So if you are following us from a different country and you would like to reach out to your Education USA Advising Center, we will show you in a minute how can you do that. So we provide you with the free, unbiased, and impartial information about all the accredited universities in the US. So if you are just starting your process of applying to US universities, if you are an undergrad or graduate student, we are here for you to help you through the process. How can we help you actually? So we provide you with public information sessions that are available on our Education USA Facebook pages, and they are recorded and available there. You can also chat with university representatives like our guests today, and you can ask your questions and interact with them. So this is an invitation to interact with our guests today. And you can also schedule individual consultations either with me or with Amira, or if you are, if your advisor is different or in a different country, you can do that very quickly. And I'll show you how. So this is our official website, educationusa.state.gov. As you can see on the screen here, you can learn more about our network or find the advising center, and you can find their email addresses there. Or you can also learn more about financial aid opportunities and scholarships provided through universities. So here is how you can reach out to us. This is my email address and my phone number. And the educationusa.state.gov website will provide you also with other advisors' email addresses of their centers. And this is how you can reach out to Amira if you're interested. If you're a Libyan student and you would like to be mentored and advised by Amira. So here you are, you have her email address and her phone number. So please reach out to us at any time and ask us your questions. And now I'll leave the floor to Michelle to start off with the session. We would like to encourage you to interact with us either on Zoom or on Facebook Live, and we'll make sure to answer your questions during the Q&A session. Michelle, it's over to you.
Thank you so much to Amira and Ilham for that lovely introduction. So as they mentioned, my name is Michelle Chobor. I am the lead international recruiter over at the Penn State Great Valley campus in the United States. So we are going to go ahead and get started with today's presentation, just with a few more quick introductions. So again, just putting names to faces, even though you can see me on video. My name is Michelle Chobor once again, and I am joined today for this presentation by Dr. Samika Sen, who is our professor in charge of our Master of Business Administration program. Over the presentation, I will be talking a little bit about the application process over at Penn State Great Valley, some of those STEM designated programs that we have, your application requirements, what the typical student profile looks like, and then it will be turned over to Dr. Sen to do a deep dive of our MBA program. So again, the agenda, just to clarify a little bit of what I just said, everything that you see on your screen will be covered over the next half an hour or so, and then it will be turned back over to a Q&A session. So as Amira and Ilham said, please feel free to interact via Facebook or via the chat so we can get all of your questions answered at the end of today's presentation. Okay. So when you think of higher education, you may think of a large, bustling campus filled with students of different ages pursuing different programs and degrees. But at a dedicated graduate and professional studies campus, particularly Penn State Great Valley, you'll find quite the opposite, but in a good way. A graduate and professional studies campus allows a focus specifically on graduate level education. So maybe you're looking to hone in on skills learned in your office, maybe you're looking to change careers, or maybe you're just getting started professionally. Either way, there will be a home for you on our campus. We provide flexible course delivery with all classes held in the evening, leaving plenty of time for research assistantships and on-campus job opportunities during the day. Penn State Great Valley is located in what we call a corporate center, meaning we're surrounded by Fortune 500 companies, which has led to many internship and job placements post-graduation. And while our campus is small in size, so that we may provide you with an individualized experience, we are part of the large Penn State system. This being said, regardless of the campus you choose, your degree will state the Pennsylvania State University, a name that is known both nationally and internationally. So a very, very big part of choosing to further your education in the United States is the support services that you'll receive. So a key thing to know is that if you choose to further your education in the United States, and particularly at Penn State Great Valley, you will be supported from start to finish. Some of the biggest support services we offer are highlighted on your screen currently, with a full-time career management services center, those corporate partnerships we talked about, and plenty of research opportunities. You will be supported, like we said, from start to finish. And as touched on a little bit earlier, our campus setting really is ideal. So as you can see on your map here, this map shows a map of the locations of Penn State across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, with the Great Valley campus located at the bottom of that map in red. And something good to know here is that Penn State Great Valley is situated right in between New York City, which is the nation's financial center, and Washington, D.C., which is the nation's political center. So now, before we go any further, I really want you to take a moment and envision yourself here. Penn State Great Valley is not only home to academic and student support services that we discussed earlier, but it's also home to student organizations, a brand new knowledge commons featuring group study areas, a micro market, one button studio, state-of-the-art fitness center, and more. With international students making up about 15% of our student population, we're sure that you're going to feel right at home. So the next few slides are going to dive a little bit deeper into our academic offerings and more particularly our STEM designated programs. So one of the biggest questions we're asked by international prospective students daily is if our programs are STEM designated, and rightfully so. Of course, if you're coming all the way to the United States, we do want you to have that extension for postgraduate work, which is why we're happy to offer 7 STEM designated program offerings on our campus. So each of the programs that you see listed on your screen meet that STEM designation requirement. So as Ilham and Amira said earlier, our Master of Engineering Management, Master of Systems Engineering, Master of Software Engineering, Master of Science in Information Science, Master of Science in Data Analytics, Master of Professional Studies in Data Analytics, and our Master of Finance degree are all STEM designated. In just a few moments, you're going to hear a little bit more from our professor in charge of our MBA program. And while our MBA program is not STEM designated, it can be completed concurrently alongside any of the degrees you see here, which would grant that additional OPT extension. So before I turn it over to Sanika to discuss a little bit more about our MBA program, I do just want to go over some general admissions requirements. So this screen is going to highlight the admissions requirements required for all of our programs, with a few differences varying by program. But first and foremost, the things that every single application will be accompanied by are a current and updated resume, which will highlight all of your work experience and educational experience, transcripts, which we will require an ECE translation evaluation service for if they are in a language other than English, a one-page statement of intent, which will highlight your professional goals, what you're hoping to get out of our program, and how we can best help you achieve your career trajectory. The contact information for references. While references are required for each program, the number will vary by program. And all of this information can be found on our program-specific pages at greatvalley.psu.edu. GMAT or GRE scores, also something that does vary by program. Some programs do not require the GMAT or GRE, while others do. So again, this information can be found right on our website. And for all of our international students, TOEFL or IELTS scores will be required, with the minimum IELTS score being a 6.5 and the minimum TOEFL score being an 80 with at least a 19 on the speaking section. And while each application is traditionally accompanied by a $65 application fee, we'll talk a little bit more at the very end about how we can consider you for an application fee waiver. And before I move on from this slide, I do want to just point out that our application deadline for fall 2022 is quickly approaching on April the 30th, and we would be more than happy to talk about how to expedite this process with you. And just to add a little bit about tuition and scholarships, the average international student tuition is $1,771 per credit hour, with an automatic scholarship consideration if you apply by that April 30th deadline. Like we said, scholarships are an automatic consideration. There is no additional paperwork or application required from your end. All you will have to do is submit your Penn State Great Valley application to be considered for an award up to $15,000. And you will be notified with your offer of admission if you are accepted for one of these scholarships. So that is going to wrap up the first part of our presentation today. So without further ado, I do want to introduce Penn State Great Valley Professor in Charge, Dr. Sanika Sen. Dr. Sen is the professor in charge of our MBA program, and over the next few slides, she will provide a deep dive into what our MBA program entails and what the ideal candidate looks like. So Dr. Sen, the floor is now yours.
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you, Amira and Ilham. As Michelle introduced, I am the professor in charge of the MBA program. So what does the professor in charge do? Well, my main responsibility is that your education, your MBA degree and curriculum is up to the standard of what you would expect from a Big Ten university. By the way, Pennsylvania State University is considered a Big Ten university in the US. It's part of an elite group of schools. So really my main job is to make sure that MBA students the curriculum for the MBA program is giving you the education that you deserve, and also the skill sets that will help you, as you progress further in your professional career. Of course, there are other parts of the job too. I work as advisor. I am also like work with Michelle and our marketing and recruitment team to talk to students and tell you about what our program does offer. These are, in a very brief nutshell, the things that I do. Michelle, if you go to the next one. So I don't see, I think, a whole full list of viewers here, but actually I would like to ask if we have anyone here who is considering an MBA. Why would you do an MBA? Do we have anyone who has? No.
I think that most of the students are watching the session from the Facebook, pages. That's how it usually works. Yeah.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't see. So, the MBA or the Master of Business Administration degree, it's where, I'll just tell you about myself. My undergraduate degree, or outside of the US, it's also called the baccalaureate, or sometimes that is called a graduate degree. But anyway, your bachelor's degree. My bachelor's was in engineering, which I did in India, and I was working. And then I realized when I was working that many times I did not have the business speak. I was working with clients, and sometimes our conversations would go like this, like I would not understand what they are saying and they wouldn't understand what they're saying, although linguistically we are speaking the same language. And that's when I decided to go for a business education while my bachelor's was in engineering. So this is where you would find many times that you may come from an engineering background, or maybe a science background, or maybe a liberal arts background, and then as you are working you would feel like, oh gosh, hope I knew a little bit more about accounting or a little bit about finance and economics. And you would also, as you go up the career ladder, you would also be managing people, which is a different type of skill set than when you first started your career. So there are a lot of reasons for why students are interested in an MBA program. And worldwide, and I'm sure you already all have done your research, that the talent for managers with who has an overall skill of skills in a particular area, as well as be able to conduct business and be able to connect with people from different backgrounds, that's still in high demand. So in the foreseeable future, and I'm sure you are also aware that the demand for this degree is quite high. Thank you. So what does a Penn State MBA mean for you? So one of the things that this campus's program is really special is it gives you a lot of flexibility. So the flexibility comes in terms of how the courses and the classes are offered, as well as what kind of options, like how you can make your own MBA curriculum, of course within a given framework. So let me come to the first one, the hybrid classes and 7-week courses. So our campus, and as Michelle mentioned, it's in a corporate center. So most of our students are working professionals, meaning that they have a full-time job, and then they are also taking courses from us while they do have a full-time job. So the classes are offered in a hybrid format, meaning we meet sometimes in campus about 50% of the times. So for a 3 credit class, 3 credit graduate class, we'll meet once a week in the classroom, and then rest of the week you would have things that are asynchronously put online. So you have all the resources, you have the faculty may have given you lecture notes, videos, assignments, and you can interact with the faculty through email. But so there is online in-person meetings on a weeknight, followed by asynchronous learning, and then you come back and meet again next week for each course. And these courses go through 7 weeks. We go actually at double speed because a graduate 3 credit program is meant for 14 weeks of meeting. However, in 7 weeks, every week we are doing double the coursework that we would have done if we met for 14 weeks straight. So you are getting the same content, but you are getting it at a little higher speed. And the reason being, then graduate students can do our other the working professionals, the domestic students can focus on one course at a time, and then in one big semester like fall semester, instead of doing 2 courses parallelly, they can do one course and then another course. How does it help the international students who would have to do at least 3 courses per semester? This format gives you the ability to do actually 4 courses in a semester. Because of the hybrid offering, you can take a Monday course as well as a Tuesday or a Wednesday or Thursday course. So every term, when the domestic students are doing one course, you can actually do 2 courses. So that allows you to do because most international students would be here full time. That allows you to do your courses, finish your program much faster than the domestic students here who are taking a little longer. And also that flexibility, then the asynchronous versus meeting once asynchronous, and the combination of meeting once a week gives you ample time during the week to catch up on your work and finish all the assignments and still be on top of things. So the flexibility, timing wise, that works for our domestic students would also work for international students. Customization in terms of content, there are some foundation courses. These are building blocks, but apart from there are electives, chosen electives, as well as certificates, and I'll go into more details on in a little bit. As Michelle mentioned, there are international student scholarships available. One thing I would also like to say that these are first come first served. Michelle mentioned about $500,000 that are awarded every year. And it has happened that if we had an applicant who applied a little late when we have awarded all the available funds, then we just at that point we just did, even though the candidate was worthy of a scholarship, we just couldn't because our fund was depleted. So the timing matters. So these scholarships of course are based on eligibility and your records, but also they are awarded on a first come first serve basis. So someone who has applied earlier does have a little bit of a leg up in the game. Our faculty are all of our faculty are full-time, and many of us have worked or still do some consulting with outside corporations. So along with the classmates, there is a rich practical side of your academic education as well, which makes of course the MBA much more enriching. And I am proud to say we are, this campus, the program is accredited by AACSB, and AACSB is an international accreditation society, and not every business school gets it. I don't have the current statistics, but I believe less than 10% of all of world's business schools do have this accreditation. It's somewhat also similar to EKIS, which is more of an European accreditation, and I'm forgetting the other one, which is more Asian, AMOS or something. But AACSB is the most well-known accreditation of business schools throughout the world, and I am proud to say that we are ACSB accreditation, which actually makes sure of the quality of the education that you are getting from our campus. So I told you about a little bit about our domestic students, and they are a great networking opportunity because they are all working full time. On average, they have 5 to 7 years of work experience, and in our in our vicinity. We have many different industries. Healthcare is really big in the greater Philadelphia region where we are located. We also have big financial industry because we are located close to New York, and also Delaware, which is some financial companies are located there. Apart from there, we also have steel industries, higher education, government, high tech. So so our students from pharmaceuticals are big. So we have students from all these different regions with all different kinds of backgrounds. So we have government employees, we have nurses, we also have, sometimes we would have an MD, a physician in our classes, because maybe the doctor works in one of the local area hospitals or health organizations and is moving into more of the administrative positions and wants to broaden the business skills or business acumen. So it is a really great peer network. The campus provides you with a great peer network, and we do a lot of team projects. So pretty much every MBA course you are taking, you are teaming up with one of your classmates, one or more of your classmates. That gives you learning environment as well as professional networking, which will help you later on in your OPT and other professional endeavors. So that's a really great opportunity, especially if you are building a network once you come here. So let me tell you just a little bit about our curriculum. It's 48 credits, and I would actually like to say it's 30 to 48 credits. The reason I say that is there is the foundation courses, which are basic blocks of business, which some of the courses are statistics, economics, marketing, accounting, operations and supply chain management. So these are finance. So depending on the background and the school where a student comes from, it is possible to get exemptions from the foundation. So for example, if you have done an economics major and you have worked and you can show that, well, you already are proficient in the basics of economics, you don't have to do the foundation economics course. So of course that requires some paperwork. Also for international students, that means there is an organization who would say, who would translate the transcripts for us if it is, if we and also would check the accreditation status of the school where students come from. But we have done this for our domestic students, and we also offer the same opportunity for international students. So based on your background, especially someone coming from business or economics type backgrounds, in bachelor's, it is possible to get 2 to 3 courses exempted, and that's also something that you don't need to submit any paperwork for. When your application is reviewed, we look at the background, and if we see that if you have the requisite academic and professional experience, you get exemptions from the foundations courses. There are 2 courses, 9 credits, that are required. One, of course, is the stepping stone course, where no matter where you are coming from, you get an idea of the overview of business education, and the last, a culminating experience where you are bringing together everything that you have learned in the MBA program. We call it a capstone course. So these 2, the ones that shows required courses, 9 credits, these are the ones that are never exempted. Now, the customization comes in the essentials and in the elective. So the essentials are 5 categories, which based on AACSB guidelines, based on faculty experience, based on student feedback, these are the areas that we saw that students, graduating MBA students would need skills on. Under each one of these categories that you see, you have a menu of choices. So the leadership and interpersonal dynamics can give you, probably right now I don't remember, there are 3 or 4 courses that you can choose from. So you have to do at least 1 course from each one of the categories, but you have a choice of which one to take from each one of the categories. Then there are 2 electives, 6 credits. So taken together, the essentials and the electives, that gives you a great flexibility. So if you are into managing, if you are into creating new businesses, maybe you would do the choose more courses in the entrepreneurship direction, or maybe you want to do something with analytics. Michelle, if you go to the certificates now. Yeah, so so these are certificates which are you can think of them as concentrations in your MBA program. So I told you about the 2 open electives, 6 credits, and also I told you about the choices in the essentials. So these concentrations are managed in such a way that you can have a financial accounting certificate by appropriately choosing the electives and the essentials, as well as the 2 open electives. So most of the certificates that you see here can be, you don't have to do any extra courses other than the required MBA courses, but they can, your choice of electives and essentials can be made to fit to have 1 or more concentrations of your choice. So you can at least come up with 1 concentration depending on which concentrations you want. You can also have 2, and you may have noticed that I'm using certificates and concentrations in the interchangeably, and the reason being that's what they are. Although you actually get an additional piece of paper, a diploma, for the certificate. So if you, for example, do the management essentials, which is basically the 2 of the foundations courses and 1 essential course from the MBA Essentials, you actually get another piece of paper saying that, well, you have finished the Management Essentials certificate. So is the Quantitative Business Essentials. So you can definitely have two certificates or concentrations or more. And of course, your advisor, so let's say you are interested in human resource management, when you are entered into the program, you are assigned an advisor, and the advisor will work with you with the course choices so that you can get the courses that you courses and the curriculum that you are interested in. So going to the next one. So this was yours, right, Michelle? Or no?
Yeah. So Tanika, we can tag team this one. So I just want to.
Yeah, sure. No, so I think I will stop here. So just to wrap it up, I think I gave you a very little bit overview of the program structure. But really, for a business education, other than the curriculum, we are also looking at building a professional network. And the flexible structure, both in terms of the timing as well as the content flexibility, does work for our domestic students and also would work to the advantage of international students. Michelle actually would tell you more about the student profile and the network opportunities. So I would stop now and hand it over to Michelle. And of course, at the end of our presentation, we'll be happy to take any questions.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Dr. Sen, for that overview of the MBA program here at Great Valley. So over the next few slides, before we jump into a Q&A, I do just want to talk a little bit more about the typical student profile that we would receive at Great Valley, just to ensure that it would be a great fit for you. So the typical MBA student profile, as Dr. Sen mentioned in her portion of today's presentation, if you're coming from a quantitative background, if you're a clear thinker, you're really interested in moving up that corporate ladder, solving problems with real impact, wanting to develop as a leader, having clear communication, this student profile not only fits the MBA program, but it fits a lot of the program offerings that we have at Great Valley, and for any program that you may be looking to study in the United States. We really want to help develop you as a leader and help to develop your professional network. But to talk a little bit more about our typical MBA student profile, since that was the deep dive of today's presentation, you can find your average GRE and GMAT scores right to the right-hand side of your screen, your left-hand side of the screen. Your average GMAT score being a 565, and then your GRE quantitative and verbal breakdown being an average of a 155 GRE quant score and an average 148 GRE verbal score. So typically, students come from all different types of backgrounds. For the MBA program in particular, students typically come from business administration, financing, accounting, economics, math, and statistical backgrounds. For some of our other STEM designated programs, such as our engineering and technology programs, students come from a variety of backgrounds, such as multiple engineering disciplines, statistical and quantitative backgrounds. Some come from liberal arts backgrounds, and we are here to help guide you forward in whatever background you come from to get you on the right path to graduate school. And then some benefits of our MBA program, as well as some of our other STEM designated programs, is, like I said, to really help develop you as a leader and to develop your communication skills, and to really help you network so that you have those longstanding partnerships with both business and industry while you're on your STEM, CPT, and OPT here in the United States. So before we jump into the next steps, how to contact us, and into a Q&A, I do just want to give everybody the opportunity to read a student testimonial from a student who has gone through our Great Valley program and how they have been committed to success by their staff members and peer network. So I'll just give a few moments here to read through this testimonial, and then we'll jump into a closing out and Q&A. So your next steps, once again, want to just thank everybody for joining today's presentation before we go ahead and turn it back over to Ilham and Amira for a question and answer session. But just to sum up, my name once again is Michelle Chobor. I am the lead international recruiter for all of our programs here at Penn State Great Valley. So whether you'd like to connect about our Master of Business Administration program, which we heard a little bit more about today, or any of our engineering and technology programs, our Master of Finance, which is also STEM designated. Any of those programs, I will be your main point of contact to connect with. I am so happy to do one-to-one appointments where I would get to determine your eligibility for not only a fee waiver, but your eligibility for the program, and just to talk out your interests, your goals, and to make sure Penn State Great Valley is not only the best fit for you, but choosing to come and study in the United States. So I do want to go ahead at this point and turn it right over to Ilham and Amira for the question and answer. But just know that I will be in touch with anybody who wants to further learn more about our program offerings. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Michelle. That was a great presentation. And thank you all for providing this valuable input here. So we'll start by the first question, and it comes from a student here on Facebook following us. He's asking about whether your programs require work experience or not.
Yeah, and that's a great question. So I'll answer it broadly, and then I'll turn it over to Dr. Sen to speak on the MBA program. So the broad answer is it's going to vary by program. We have some programs that do not have a work experience requirement, while we have others, such as our engineering management program, that would like to see 1 to 3 years of professional work experience to develop you as a manager and develop you as a leader by building onto the skill sets that you already have from your work experience. So the short answer to that is it does vary by program, and that is something you can find additional information for on our website or by that one-to-one appointment that I'm happy to have. Dr. Sen, I can turn it over to you if you have anything to add on the MBA program specifically.
Yeah, so specifically for the business administration, we do require work experience. And loosely, like you have seen our work experience, loosely we have said 3 to 5 years, but it also depends on the kind of experience that you had. So if you had maybe, let's say, a little less than 3, I would not be wary of applying, or at least having a discussion with Michelle to see if you are a fit. So MBA, as you can see, as you can understand, like we are helping you to be managers. So of course, if you have worked in in some capacity after your bachelor's degree, that is definitely something that we want, and it also helps the students find the right perspectives and be able to connect. And along with business and corporate expertise, we also value military experience. So we have veterans from the US military, and similarly, if in your country, if you have served, that is also a very valuable experience, because it gives you discipline, it gives you honor and integrity, and those things we really value our domestic veteran students. And we would also, in the similar vein, military experience from your respective countries. So any kind of experience where you have, after your bachelor's degree, you have interacted with people. Of course, you needed you might be a HR professional, you might be an engineer, so you have done work in your core area. As long as it required you to interact and work in a professional environment, we would definitely like to see that in our students.
Interesting. The next question is about the GPA. So is there a minimum GPA to get into the MBA program, for example, or the business program at Penn State Great Valley?
So I cannot speak for all business programs. So the business programs that we offer are Masters in Accounting, Masters in Leadership Management, Masters in Finance, as well as, did I mention Masters in Leadership Development? As well as the MBA. So For the MBA, the GPA is around 3.3. Of course, now some international schools universities have a GPA on a scale of 10, sometimes a GPA on a scale of 5. In those cases, we do have an organization that we rely on who does the GPA translation for us. And again, remember that GMAT, GPA, professional experience, these are not etched on stone requirements. We look at the candidate and the overall profile. So maybe the GMAT, if you have to take a GMAT, there are GMAT exemptions and GMAT waivers too, with students with proper background and professional experience. So if you had to take a GMAT, maybe you see it's little less than our average, but you have, your work experience is really stellar. So please really touch base with Michelle and, talk about your profile, because it's not like we have certain criteria and then, oh, you have to be above that. It's the total portfolio of students that we are interested in, because that's what makes it interesting and that's what adds value.
Thank you so much for your answers. And of course, thank you for providing such a rich presentation. I personally enjoyed it. So let's move on to the next question that I received from Libya. So someone is asking about the recommendation letters. So who should provide my recommendation letters, and what tips would you suggest or provide for students to have a strong recommendation letter?
So that's a very good question. I can speak for the Master of Business Administration, and then Michelle can give you the other ones. So really someone who has seen you at your work, and in most situations this is either a colleague or your boss, your supervisor, because who better to tell that how not only about your educational experience but more on how professional you are, how you perform, you have performed under stress, how do you face challenging situations or problem, how are you at problem solving. So at least for the business administration, I would say that a co-worker or maybe your boss, your supervisor, are the persons to write a recommendation letter. And as far as tips, there are certain questions that the recommender has to answer anyway, and then there is a place to write a paragraph. And what we are really looking forward to hearing is why does the person think, if I am supervising someone, why do I think this person is valuable to me? And that's what when we see in the recommendation letter, that tells us a lot about what kind of community member, what kind of student this person is going to be.
Yeah, I can add a little bit to that just quickly before we move on to the next question. So a common question that we get, and it's very normal. A very normal question is, do I have to have one academic reference and one professional reference? Do they both have to be professional? Do they both have to be academic? The simple answer is it's your choice. They can be 2 professional references, they can be 2 academic references, they can be 1 and 1. And the reason for this is because we have such a diverse population of students. Some are coming straight out of their undergraduate studies for some of our other STEM programs without work experience just yet, while others have been in industry for 5, 10, 15 years already and have lost touch with their academic side. So the short answer is that whoever is best going to advocate for you being a great asset to our program, that's the person you should choose for your recommendation. And just another quick thing to note, the way that the Penn State application works is you will provide us with the contact information, the recommender's contact information, and Penn State will contact them on your behalf. So it wouldn't be a physical letter that you're uploading. You'll just have to let your recommender know, I'm providing your contact information to Penn State, and then Penn State takes care of it from there.
Great. So the next question comes from one of my students. And as you know, in Tunisia, our bachelor degree is only 3 years. It's not like in the US, we study 4 years after the baccalaureate degree. So he's asking if he is eligible for any master's degree in the United States, or is he going to provide the equivalent of a 4-year studies?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's a little bit of a tricky question because it does kind of vary by situation. So typically 3-year degrees, we like to see accompanied by a 1-year postgraduate diploma or certificate. But that's one of the cases where I would love to have a separate individualized conversation with you so that I can take a look at what you have, what your certifications look like, and then work in conjunction with our admissions team to make determinations if it would be eligible, if they would need any other additional information from their end. But typically, and I know my supervisor, Kate McConnell, is on this call. If she has anything else to add to that, that would be great.
Wonderful. I don't have any other questions. Ilham, do you?
Let me check. I think that, yeah, we're done with questions.
Wonderful. So yeah, I would like to thank you again for joining us today and for providing this presentation. And this is a reminder for anyone who's watching from Facebook. This session is recorded, so you can go back to our Facebook pages and watch it. And we'll make sure also to upload it to our YouTube channel. Thank you so much, Miss Michelle, sorry, and Ms. Sagnaga, sure, for coming today. And we hope to have you again in the future. And thank you everyone for watching. Keep an eye on our Facebook events. We still have many other events for you in April. So yeah, make sure to register and to join and to ask your burning questions.
And to reach out to Education USA as well. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Bye-bye.